I actually
And
think
now,
that we weren't live the whole time.
yeah, now we're live.
Now we're live. Yeah. After 24 minutes. No, after 14. Is it 24 minutes? Yeah.
I'm very much excited to be live now.
Yay! So now we're live.
Mhm.
Well, and now we're warm, right? Our voices are warm. And it
Yeah,
wasn't very
exactly.
interesting. It wasn't very
Can I
interesting
just
in the
share the
beginning.
link?
Mhm.
Let me see. How do I share the link from here? Share.
Um,
Here we go. And I'll just say, I'll just write, we're live. I'll post it to my WhatsApp group. I have
yeah,
like
we had
70 members in my WhatsApp group.
some technical difficulties.
Let's see. Yeah.
Right, and now I can tell how many is watching, and that's actually 0 right now. So there's a watch count right now.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's because they tried the link and it didn't work.
I'm telling people that we're online now. I think it's cool that we're sitting ready as experts to answer questions.
Exactly.
Har du meget svære grammatiske spørgsmål eller andet, du gerne vil spørge om at lære dansk eller bestå 3 eller 7 udvalg, så log på her og stil spørgsmål til Ervin Steffen. Dum, sådan.
Super. Okay. So let's and now we know that Jamboard isn't very convenient for this kind of thing. But then let me just share a Word document.
Yes, please. I was waiting for you to say so.
Yeah, that's what we usually do when we teach, right? That's because
Yeah,
because it works, right?
it
Let's see
does.
here. All right. So can you see my Word document?
Let me check.
No, I have to press show on live stream, I
Yeah.
think. So much to press here. There we go. Was that better?
Yes, way better.
And we have
It's a bit
Christmas
small, but
trees for
it's
some
much
reason.
better.
Okay, so it's small. I have to be looking at the screen in order to type anything. Okay, so that's a bit funny. If I type something now, then it doesn't show up. But if I go and look at the screen, it does. Okay. All right. So if I do big text, then you'll be able to see it better, right?
Yeah,
Can you see this?
yeah,
Fine.
very good, very good,
Okay.
very good.
So udsætning, ledsætning. We can go and copy some of the stuff that we had in the Jamboard. Maybe not. That's probably not going to happen. Okay. So we were talking just before about the fact that hovedsætning is a main clause and a ledsætning is a subordinate clause, and that the difference here is that uh, a main clause is something that you can say on its own, like like I will help you, I want to help you, I'm going for a walk or whatever, right? Those are main clauses. I'm going for a walk, and then you could have when I get home. I'm going for a walk when I get home, and when I get home is a subordinate clause, and you can tell because it seems like something's missing if you just say it on its own, right?
Yeah.
When I get home, if somebody's just in their own thoughts and they say, if only I knew how much, right? Then you're going to be wondering, how much what, right? because it's a subordinate clause and it's not finished, you could say, right? So let's have some examples. Okay, I'm just completely messing around with my windows now. Okay, so let's say, jeg cykler en tur. I'll go for a bike ride. Jeg cykler en tur. Når jeg kommer hjem. So we have a main clause and the subordinate clause, which means when I get home. So we also say that this når is a subordinate clause conjunction. It marks the beginning of a subordinate clause. Jeg hjælper dig means I'll help you. Hvis du hjælper mig, I'll help you if you help me. So again, this is the conjunction here. It means if, and you can tell that it's a subordinate clause because hvis du hjælper mig is a condition, but it doesn't make any sense on its own. If you help me, it doesn't make any sense on its own, right? So before we were saying, just before we went live, we were saying that some things can make subjects and objects of main clauses switch places. So let's say, jeg hjælper dig om 5 minutter. That means I'll help you in 5 minutes. Okay, and om 5 minutter, that is what we call an adverbial phrase or an adverbial expression, right? It's something that indicates time. It doesn't have to have subjects and objects, but it can. Like it can be a whole sentence, but it indicates the time that something will happen. So in this case, jeg hjælper dig means I will help you. And then om 5 minutter indicates that the helping will happen in 5 minutes. Okay, but we can take this om 5 minutter and we can put it up front. Om 5 minutter. And then we need a comma. Hjælper dig. Om 5 minutter hjælper jeg dig. And what's happening here is that hjælper and jeg are switching places. And the reason for this is that we have taken something, and it doesn't really matter what it is, anything that is not a subject. If you begin a main clause with that, then you're going to get that that moving around of the verb and the subject. And just in case you're wondering what subjects and objects are here, we can just real quick. So jeg in this case is subject, and hjælper is object. Is the verb, and dig is an object. And om 5 minutter is then the adverb here. And then we had om 5 minutter moving up in front, right? In 5 minutes moves up in front. That is the adverb. And then we have the verb, the subject, and the object. And it might look kind of chaotic, right? But if we think of om 5 minutter as an entire entity that can only move around on its own, even though it's 3 words, but it's a thing that has to stick together in 5 minutes. You can't start removing words from in 5 minutes and still have the same meaning, right? So that's a chunk that we can move around. Om 5 minutter. Okay, so that's one item. And we took that from the end of a main clause and we put it up front. And what happened there was that the verb said, I don't care what you guys do, but I'm going to stay here in the second position. So you can just do your thing, but I'm staying here. Okay, so the verb really takes priority. It's at the top of the food chain in Danish clauses, maybe in all clauses. So the verb decides what to do. It stays in the second position. And then the adverb comes in and pushes the subject behind the verb here. And what we also... Did you want to say something, Ervin?
it's fine. I'm just thinking that sometimes you can have two of those kind of sentences, and they are kind of, instead of a full stop, there'll be a conjunction, some combining two sentences like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can have more than yeah. So that's why we should probably more like think of it as a chunk. But it has to be stuff of made up of the same kind of thing. Like you can put two objects in front, you can put two adverbs in front, but you can't put an object and an adverb,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like you have to decide what you want to focus on, and then you can do that. So let's just take another example here. Um, Jeg hjælper dig i køkkenet, in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
om 5 minutter. So you might be able to take both of those. Like i køkkenet is in the kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 5 minutter means in 5 minutes. So here we have a place adverb and we have a time adverb. And I'm not sure whether people would do that very much, but you might be able to like take both of those and put them in front. What do you think, Ervin? It doesn't
Yeah,
sound, but
you could, on the context. If you, as you exactly said, like earlier, if you want to put a focus on like in 5 minutes, I'll help you in the kitchen.
yeah,
Sure, you
but
could
but
put
but
it.
what about both? How do you feel about i køkkenet
Mm,
om 5 minutter? I køkkenet om 5 minutter hjælper jeg dig.
nah,
No.
no,
Om
it
5
wouldn't matter.
minutter
It
i
doesn't.
køkkenet hjælper jeg dig. Not really, right? So you
No,
you really
no.
have to sort of decide on one thing that you want to front. So let's have a look at an example where you want to front the place then, right? So you can say i køkkenet hjælper jeg dig om 5 minutter. It sounds like you might be able to find a context where this makes sense. Like you want to focus on the kitchen and nowhere else, right? I køkkenet hjælper jeg dig om 5 minutter, right? So you want to
Yeah.
focus on the fact that it is going to be in the kitchen and not right here. Like right now, I'm in the garage with grease on my hands, and you want me to taste the sauce or whatever, right? So I'm trying to say no in the kitchen. That's just an example, right? So I køkkenet hjælper jeg dig om 5 minutter. You might find a context for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the kitchen, and then the last thing that you could focus is the object. Dig hjælper jeg i køkkenet om 5 minutter. Okay, so now we're fronting you instead. The same thing is happening. The verb is very very stubbornly staying in the same second position there, and then the thing that you fronted pushes the subject back behind the verb, right? And this dig hjælper jeg i køkkenet om 5 minutter, that would contrast you as opposed to other people that you might also need to help, right? So in this case, you I will help in 5 minutes in the kitchen, as opposed to someone else that I'm helping right now or whatever. So this kind of fronting in Danish is used for focus. It's also sometimes called topic continuity, because we want to have a continuation of the topic of the conversation, right? And this is grammatically coded in Danish, as opposed to in English, right? You couldn't do this in English. Not. I mean, well, maybe you could, but not really. It's not very. It's not used in this way in English. Right? In the kitchen, help I you in 5 minutes. Not really, right? Right. So it's this moving of the subject that is very very tough for people, for beginners especially, new to Danish. It's tough to grasp, and it's tough to learn and internalize. Right? What do you say, Evan?
I totally agree. Um, Also because there's a lot of things with the Danish language that seems a little bit arbitrary, or like, oh no, this is this and this is how we do it. A lot of things are similar to the English language, and then sometimes like, no, 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 this you cannot do like that. So I find it difficult to add rigor and structure to my way of teaching word order in Danish, to be honest.
Hmm. I mean, there's just a lot of things in Danish that are, like you said, arbitrary, and or at least, yeah, they're not systematic.
Yeah,
So
with a lot of exceptions.
they're products of historical uh, change, right? They're just, and there's some of it as well in English, like irregularities, but maybe there are more in Danish. I mean, for instance, we have several ways of making the forming the plural of nouns in Danish, right? That's one of the things that you just have to remember, right?
Mm,
So let me just go back to my document here. So I usually say that uh, things that you have to memorize is gender,
yeah.
right? That's a big one. Although it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't really disturb communication so much if you make mistakes there, but still, I mean, you can hear that something's not right, right? And then it is a noun group
Mm-hmm,
based on number marking.
mm-hmm,
So that's the second thing, and then is verb group based on past tense marking. Okay. Um, and then you have basically choice of prepositions in both spatial and non-spatial uses, right? When I say spatial uses, I mean like on the table, under the table, in the house, and so on, right? And
yeah.
that can be random sometimes in Danish, like or at least unexpected, coming from a different language. So let's just say that I er i stuen means I am in the living room, right? That's
Mm-hmm,
fine. But you say jeg er på badeværelset, right? I am on the bathroom for some reason.
mm-hmm,
We're not in the bathroom. We're on the bathroom.
mm-hmm,
Jeg er i soveværelset. So that means I'm in the bedroom. So it doesn't have to do even with the word værelse, which means room, right? It doesn't even have to do with the fact that we're using værelse here versus something else, right? So that's
mm-hmm.
not it. It's just random. Jeg er på loftet means I'm in the attic, right? In English you say I'm in the attic. In Danish we say I'm on the attic.
Okay. One, so like we combine these clauses with conjunctions, these connecting words.
Mm-hmm.
Why does the word saw has three different uses? I have students
Mm.
that complain so much about trying to
Mm-hmm.
connect two sentences with saw, and then they're all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just, I mean, the letters S and O together can mean a whole bunch of things, right?
Oh my
Depend,
goodness, yeah.
yeah. Um, so that, I mean, there's the short answer is it's crazy. But if we focus on, I know which ones you have in mind. There's a main clause and a subordinate clause,
Yeah.
one, right? And I always get into trouble when I try to keep them apart. And the reason for that is that even the meaning distinctions between them are so subtle that even a native
Mm.
speaker sometimes can't really explain why it is the way it is. But
Mm-hmm.
let's have an example of it. Jeg, um, jeg hvad? Jeg har en paraply med, så jeg ikke bliver våd. So this means I am bringing along an umbrella so that I won't get wet, right? This second part that begins with "så" is a subordinate clause. And it is in the meaning "so that," right? So it is the expression of something that you're doing in order to have something else happen, right? We could have another example without ikke. I skruer op. Nej, let's say tænder lyset, så vi kan se hinanden. So this is, I am turning on the light so that we can see each other. The reason why sentences with ikke are good is that ikke is a central adverb and it shows whether something is a main clause or a subordinate clause, right? So it becomes very obvious that this up here is a subordinate clause because ikke comes before the verb bliver, get wet. So in this sentence here, it would be jeg tænder for lyset. So let's just say the opposite. Let's just say jeg tænder, jeg slukker lyset, så vi ikke kan se hinanden. So we can tell that it's a subordinate clause because ikke comes before can, to be able to see each other, right? So this is one meaning of the word så, of the conjunction så. This is a subordinate clause conjunction expressing that sentence B is the desired outcome of sentence A, right? But you can actually, if you have the main clause version of this, of så, is kind of the opposite. So let's have a look at that. Hvis jeg ikke har paraply med, så bliver jeg våd. So if I don't bring an umbrella, then I will get wet. Let's remove ikke here and put it over here instead. So if I bring an umbrella, I won't get wet. Hvis jeg tager paraply med, så bliver jeg ikke våd. So now what you're seeing is actually not så as a conjunction, it's så as an adverb. And one of the reasons why we can tell that it's an adverb and not a conjunction is that conjunctions never cause inversion, right? And this is a main clause, bliver, jeg bliver ikke våd, means I won't get wet. Jeg bliver ikke våd means I won't get wet, right? But in the sentence above it, it says, bliver jeg ikke våd. And inversion can only happen in main clauses. So right there we can tell that it must be a main clause. And the inversion is being caused by the adverb så. Main clause conjunctions don't cause inversion, like og, men, eller. So were these the two that you were thinking of, Ervin? You're still muted, Ervin. I think, or at least I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Maybe I've just been talking and nobody can hear me. Ervin, can you unmute yourself, or is it just me who's not hearing you?
Hej, jeg har Steffen, jeg har lige fået et opkald fra en veninde, som lige har brug for min opmærksomhed 2 sekunder.
Okay.
Må jeg lige
Okay.
vente til om 5 minutter?
Ja, selvfølgelig. Sure. All right. So we were saying that så can also mean other things, or at least the combination of S and O. So let's just take the third very common meaning, which means and then. So maybe we can just list the meanings so far. Så, hovedsætning, indicates, this is what we just saw, så bliver jeg ikke våd. Consequence. Did I read that right? This is a combination of Danish and English. Consequence. Okay. And then we have så, ledsætning. Or another way of saying this is så as a hovedsæt, så as adverb. Så as conjunction. Indicates intention. Then we have så, another adverb. It's much easier to translate. It means then. Okay, so jeg spiser morgenmad. Så tager jeg på arbejde. Also add og så tager jeg på arbejde, og så laver jeg kaffe. So these are sentences in sequence. These are actions in sequence, and så means the same as then. It indicates and then, and then, and then. We could also begin with first. Står jeg op, so first I get up. Så tager jeg et bad, then I take a bath. Så spiser jeg morgenmad. Og til sidst går jeg på arbejde. So and it means the same thing, but now we don't need the all. So it's just because we sort of have a structure that begins with first. So first, then, and finally, like that, right? Først står jeg op, så tager jeg et bad, så spiser jeg morgenmad, og til sidst går jeg på arbejde. So these are 3 of the meanings of så. I also just remembered another one. You can say så. Means there, like don't worry or calm down. Take it easy. It means something like that. Take it easy. Calm down. There. Okay. So that's another meaning of så, and in this case it has to be twice. Another way of using så means something like voila. Like I did it, I finished, it's done, it's over. That's another meaning of so, probably derived from the one that means then, right? But it's used to mean finished, something like that, right? So um, after you dig a hole in your garden and plant a tree, you're probably all sweaty and you exclaim, exclaim, "Sa," in the sense, I'm done. So that's another meaning of "sa." And if you switch the pronunciation, then it can mean a couple of other things as well. It can be the past tense of så. So, jeg ser en film, jeg så en film. So it's the same two letters, but now it pronounces so. And it's just a coincidence that they happen to be the same two letters. Probably a coincidence. Yeah, it is. So it's like see, saw. I see it. I saw it. That comes from the same place. These verbs, Danish and English being related as they are. So these verbs probably come from the same place. Especially keeping in mind that the Danish present R is added like this, right? So you basically have se and so. See, saw. Pretty close, right? So that's one meaning, the past tense of the verb to see or to watch. So in man, gaden means I saw a man in the street. So in man på gaden. So what we had before, all of these that we talked about were saw. Now this other one is so. And the final one that I can come up with, that I can think of right now, also with the pronunciation of so, snart til at så blodrødder. So it will soon be time to sow carrots. So the infinitive form of the verb to sow something in the ground, like seeds in the ground, is also sow. So you can see that it's confusing, right? So if we said something like, then I saw a man sow carrots, we would have a lot of those next to each other, right? Så jeg en mand så blodrødder, right? Then I saw a man sow carrots. I mean, not that you would hear that sentence so often. And we could even have the adverb så han kunne høste, right? So now we have 4 different uses of saw and so in a single clause, in a single sentence. Right? We'd probably try to avoid that because it's not nice to have all these homophonous words next to each other. But yeah, it's a very frequently occurring combination, those so in Danish. So we haven't actually had any requests in this live stream, but I can see that we have 3 people watching. So I hope you have access to the chat because we still have time for some questions. If you wanted to ask some questions, you can use the chat function, which I hope you can. I mean, I'm seeing it here anyway, so you can ask through the chat. So put that in the chat now. see if anybody's actually able to react to that. Even if you don't have a question, maybe you could just try and type something so that we can see that it works. Or maybe it doesn't. No. So this was actually Ervin who asked about this this conjunction, the conjunctions and the adverbs so and so. But before he did that, we were talking about main clauses and subordinate clauses. Well, actually, I didn't quite finish talking about things that are random in Danish. Right? So we have the gender. So the fact that, for instance, it's en bil, but it's et hus, which means a car and a house, right? So you can tell in the articles there that the car is n gender and house is t gender, and there is no explanation for this. It's just the way it is. And then you have noun group. You have bil biler, cars, bil biler, hus huse. These are both plural, right? But one is pluralized with er and one is pluralized with an e. And then we have all. That means year and years. So we have nothing happening there, right? There's no addition. There's nothing is getting added there. And then you have something like men. That means man and men. And then finally, for the most sort of extreme cases, you have things like oh, you have a vowel change like in man men. You also have the adding of something in the end, right? So knowing which strategy to use to form the plural of a noun is just, you just have to memorize it, just like the gender. You just have to know it. There's no way of telling in advance, except maybe to say that if a word ends in an e, then it's likely to take an r as a plural form. But I did say likely, right? I mean, not necessarily. What do you say, Ervin? It's okay if you don't have a strong opinion about that. Then you have the what kind of how the past tense of the verbs are formed, and then the choice of preposition and different types of uses of prepositions. All of these things are things that you just have to memorize. There isn't. I mean, of course, the spatial uses of prepositions. In if you have inside the car and inside the house, things like that, usually uses the preposition e. So there's some logic to it, but like we talked about just before, we talked about being in the living room with e, but in the bathroom with po. So po is the preposition that means on top, usually means on top of something vertically, and e is usually inside of something. But you couldn't really argue that you're more inside of the living room than you are inside of the bathroom, right? So these are just products of history, language change at work, to the disadvantage of the learner, sadly. There's probably more stuff that we could come up with that's random in Danish, but these are sort of the main ones. maybe we should focus on the things that are not random. So in the great majority of times, verbs form the present tense with an R. Right? So spisa, eating, synga, bensa, sopa. All of these are present tense verbs, and it's completely straight shooting. Just add an R, and you have the present tense. So there's that, at least, right? What else? So I can see that nobody is really answering any, asking any questions, and to sort of make up for the time that we lost in the beginning, we've gone 5 minutes past the hour here, but I think it might be time to call this experiment concluded. What do you think, Ervin? I'm not really impressed with the whole functionality of it. I'm thinking that maybe I would prefer the YouTube that we did last time. But it is nice that we can share screens and we can be together and everything. Like we can be two hosts here. But what I don't like is that I'm not sure if the chat function is working like it did last time, and I'm also not sure exactly how easy or difficult it is for people to actually join and watch the live stream. And I know that YouTube is pretty easy and straightforward. So I don't know. We're gonna have to sort of find out what we like and what we don't like about this, and see how we go forward. Right, Ervin? So let me just stop my screen sharing here. It has been a pleasure talking about grammar, as it always is. And please let us know if you're watching this afterwards. Let us know if you would like there to be another live stream in the future. I mean, we haven't really settled on the future of this whole thing. This is the second time that we're doing it. We enjoy talking about Danish, but we enjoy it more when there's interaction, right? And this time, maybe because we had some technical difficulties in the beginning, and maybe we lost a bunch of people because we were not able to go online before like 20 minutes after we discovered that we weren't actually streaming. So it could be that. So I'm thinking that we should give it at least one more shot at some point in a not too distant future. But other than that, I think there's just left to say, have a good evening, or in the case of Ervin, who's far away, have a good night, because or morning almost over there. And please let us know. This video is going to be available on YouTube to stream. So let's know what you think. Bye.